Welcome to the Why Not Today podcast, where we celebrate courage, determination, and the power of saying, why not today? I'm your host, Leslie Kane, and in each episode, we dive into inspiring stories of individuals who have taken bold steps, faced their fears, and embraced the possibility of today. From entrepreneurs to artists, dreamers to doers, we explore the moments when they said, enough waiting, why not today? Please join me as we uncover the heartwarming, the audacious, and the transformative, whether it's pursuing a lifelong passion, overcoming obstacles, or simply choosing joy. Our guests share their journeys and inspire us all. I started this podcast in honor of my father, Patrick Kane, who often said, why not today? And remember, you're just one decision away from changing your life. And I'm excited about my guest today, Miss Jennifer Rose, and she is the executive director of the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. And I always like to talk about connections and where I met people. So I met somebody at a networking event. I don't remember where I met her, but we had coffee and she's like, oh my gosh, you need to meet Jennifer Rose with the Central Chamber, Fairfax Chamber. She's like, she knows people. She's super connected. She's lots of fun, lots of energy. So we had coffee one day. And then I know I shared on social media that we met and everybody's like, I love Jennifer. Everybody knew who you were. I'm like, how did I not know who you are? So she's got a cool history and does lots of cool things. And I love your community focus and connecting people. And I'm excited to be a part of your world and have you as our guest. So Miss Jennifer, share a little bit who you are and a fun fact about you.
Yeah, first, Leslie, I'm super excited to be here. And I can't believe that I hadn't met you before. So I am a chronic collector of people. I love collecting people so that I can connect them. It's no surprise that I landed in this Chamber of Commerce position almost 7 years ago because I love to connect people and help people. My background is nonprofit development and communications work. I joke and say I'm a recovering fundraiser. But my passion has always been in that nonprofit space and serving others. My first,
who is Jennifer, other than career?
Well, I mean, that is such an integral part of who I am. My first memory of serving others was as a 4-year-old helping at the March of Dimes Walkathon in Roanoke, where my auntie was their CEO forever. And I can remember putting little pickles in little sandwich bags and handing it to my mom because that was the old school, flip the top, not Ziploc. But helping others has just always been something that I've loved to do. It allows me to be creative and organized most of the time. I'm a mom. I have 2 boys. I'm a boy mama. So shout out to all the boy mamas out there. My boys are really men now. They're 18 and 21, and I'm newly empty nested here. And it's a struggle because I was always involved in their schools, PTA mom, room mom.
So did the second one just go off to school?
Yeah, he left. I guess it's been a month now. He's at Christopher Newport. Love it that he's there, and he checks in with me often, so I appreciate that. Been married 28 years. Next month, haven't killed my husband yet.
That's good.
But I'm a Virginia girl. I grew up close to Roanoke, in the country, and I love it. Love being there. I love going home. I grew up in a log home that my daddy built.
Oh, cool.
And they still live there. I have a brother and sister down that way.
Where in that area?
In Bedford.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I know exactly where.
Specifically Montvale, but most people don't know where Montvale is.
I'll be in Bedford next week, or week at some point in the next week. So yay. So what's a fun fact about Jennifer?
Ooh, this is a fun fact. And it's really not a secret because I talk about it all the time. I love it. When I was at the University of Virginia, I was a bus driver, one of the student transit drivers. In fact, that's how I met my husband. He was a bus driver too. Drove the bus for probably 4 years. It was my first job after college. In fact, they hired me to handle all the charter gigs if they needed a bus to go to Monticello from the business school, or football game day shuttle, graduation day shuttle. That was me as a 22-year-old being in charge of that. Loved it. Still have bus driving dreams, although not as often. It's been 26 years since I've driven a bus, but I feel like I could just jump on and drive.
Dreams or nightmares?
Both.
Okay. I was gonna
say,
I
mean, that experience taught me a ton. It taught me how to deal with people, I was a supervisor, how to supervise my peers, supervise people older than me, deal with the public, unhappy people, happy people.
See the big debacle at the golf tournament this weekend?
No, I was blissfully unplugged this weekend. So it was
Okay.
nice.
So yeah, check it out. There was a golf tournament and they had everybody in Jiffy Lube to park, and it was a disaster.
Right. Oh,
Major debacle. Everybody was not happy. So
hate to hear that. But yeah,
yes.
that's my fun fact. I used
Okay,
to operate a 35-foot long transit bus.
Love that. Very fun. So what does courage mean to you, Jennifer?
For me, being courageous involves a lot of faith. Having faith in yourself, having faith in other people, that the decision you've made, everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to. When I left my nonprofit world to come work for the chamber, it was a leap of faith and it took a little bit of courage. I was leaving a very comfortable, mostly full-time gig that I'd been doing for 7.5, almost 8 years, I guess, to take on this new challenge here at the chamber on a 6-month, 15-hour-a-week contract. That if everything worked out, you could grow a great career there or not. And everyone's like, oh, that was such a brave thing. I said, I had to have faith. I had to believe in myself that I was up for the challenge. Obviously, the powers that be here at the chamber had belief in me. I had to have faith that my family would support it. And I remember going to my husband to say, hey, I think I want to do this. He's like, go. I've been telling you to leave forever. Go, go. And I was like, all right, I'm doing this.
So yeah, let's talk about that. So I always talk about people's courage journeys, and I'm sure you've got some other moments, but was there a why not today moment that you remember where you were, what you're doing when you decided I'm going for it, I'm doing this?
I do. It's funny. I mean, I've known the board chair here at the chamber for many years. The organization I worked for was a member, and I knew they'd been struggling. They weren't very active. But I mean, they were a victim of 2008, and they worked to hang on, survive, build their capital base up so they could get to the point they wanted to hire somebody. I knew the board chair through Rotary. We were Rotarians together, still are. And I used to pick his brain on fundraising stuff. And then he started to pick my brain on chamber stuff. And do you know somebody I think we're ready to hire a part-timer. Do you know somebody? And I'm thinking, who do I know that maybe left to have babies and now the babies are in school, they want to ease back into it. And one day I was having an exceptionally bad day at work. I had a conversation with somebody that did not go the way I was expecting it to go. And it kind of knocked the winds out of my sails. And I went home and I was telling my husband, and he's just shaking his head. And I said, this chamber thing, I think I kind of want to do this. I think it's a unique challenge to reboot and relaunch a chamber that at that point had been in business for almost 60 years. I didn't know it at that point. I just knew they'd been around a long time. And I thought, just how cool would it be? I'm familiar with the city of Fairfax. I know a lot of people in the community. I started building relationships with businesses from fundraising. This will be different, but I'll get to use all these skills that I've been developing over the years. I think I want to try this. And my husband's like, go for it. So, that light bulb just kind of went off that day when I had this conversation that didn't go the way I was expecting it to at all. And I was like, I think that's my sign. Get out, try something new. And let me tell you, I was made to do this job. I love it.
You are great at it. And so you're working a full-time job. So that was a leap to go to a part-time thing.
It was. Now, granted, it's a full-time job in the nonprofit space. So the money wasn't great.
Okay.
But my currency there was the flexibility I had at the time with a husband that traveled and 2 boys that were still, needing their mama a lot. But the chamber, they were able to pay me hourly close enough to offset the difference. With tightening the belt just a skosh. And I knew this is temporary, because if I knock this out of the park, I'm going to have this great career. And, COVID set us back a little bit, but I am now making more money than I ever made in my nonprofit world. And even I think today, if I were still there, I don't think I'd be, making what I make today. And it's not about the money for me. It's really about how happy I am. And I just love what I do. It does not feel like work except budget season. Then it feels like work, and that is coming like a freight train.
Yeah.
But, for me, I just love it. don't tell anybody. I'd do it for free.
This is a recording. Shh.
I know. Shh, everybody. I would do it for free.
Well, and
Definitely don't tell my husband I said that.
that's the key. When you do things you love and you enjoy it, it's a joy to go to work. Yeah, it's not always easy, and every day's got some challenges, but you know, you wake up excited. And I've shared this on the podcast many times that I did a training for a leadership call, and we were talking about people, what's next. And we were talking about, I mean, you're in Northern Virginia, I'm in Northern Virginia, that the government's close to us. And so many people that work for the government, they can't wait to get out. They're counting the days, and this just blew my mind when I heard it. People literally have countdown clocks.
Uh-huh.
Counting
I'm
down.
married to one of those people. Like when he
Okay.
retired from federal service, he was over the moon and he's gone back to work, but he's counting the days till when we leave. And I'm not ready to go. But I'm telling you, wherever we go, I'm hopeful that there'll be a chamber of commerce where I can go work because I just love what I do.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So the chamber, you're, I guess, a smaller chamber, maybe?
We're
Maybe not.
360-ish
Okay, so
members.
that's not that small.
No,
So-
we've grown significantly. I had 85 members when I started.
Oh, wow.
And if it weren't for stupid, insert expletive here,
Mhm.
COVID, I would probably be a lot closer to 500 or 600 members.
Right.
I mean, as you
So-
know, it's a crowded field here in terms of the number of chambers in Northern
Yes.
Virginia,
Yeah.
but there's also a gazillion businesses and plenty of room for growth. So,
Oh, absolutely. So I know you are the biggest asset from what I've seen of that chamber, and what you bring. So let's talk about, you love collecting people, connecting people. I think that is definitely one of your superpowers. And that's, I think, one of the things that attracted me to you. And I think I've got that superpower as well.
mhm.
You know, that you know people and you can connect them. And, you know, it's always fun when you find those people, like those outliers. Like you see people, like you meet people and you show people on Facebook, you know, you see people on Facebook, you're like, okay, I know how they know them and they're connected. But then when you see this outlier, I'm like, how the heck did that connection go? Which is always so fun for me. So let's talk about community and connection and what that means to you and how you foster it and how you grow it. And I know you're going to be a guest speaker at the Why Not Today lunch in November. We're going to dig into that a little bit more, but I thought this would be a great teaser and tools. Like, how do we learn how to connect, build that community, and build our business simultaneously?
Well, I mean, everyone is an opportunity. Everywhere is an opportunity. You don't know who you're talking to. I know my kids hate it. My boys roll their eyes. I mean, I was in Newport News this weekend and I'm talking to a brewery trying to get them to come to Fairfax City. And like, when you're ready to come up, I'm happy to connect you. But I mean, I may have just planted a seed. And there's a lot of seed planting that takes place when you are trying to connect folks. I mean, you could be on the sideline of your kids, basketball game, soccer game, lacrosse game. You could be in their dentist chair. You could be anywhere. So to brag on yourself. And that's one thing. As women, we're not really great at bragging on ourselves and talking about ourselves and what we do. But I talk up the chamber all the time. I'm sure people are like, oh, here she goes. She's going to talk. I work for the Chamber of Commerce. I work for a chamber. But it's important for people to know what you do, why you do it, and what you have to offer to help them, because that's what it's about, you helping other people, in my mind. And I do love talking about what I do and why I do it. And do you know about this resource? Or, oh my gosh, I was just at this meeting and I heard this. I freely share that information with people. I was sharing information with the president of Christopher Newport University over the weekend. I mean, it's just what you do. Share what you know and be generous with it.
Yes. So how do you, I guess, just talk to everybody, but is there a secret formula? Is there a trick? Is there, because it comes naturally to me, but I know a lot of people it doesn't.
It doesn't. So asking questions and listening, being an old recovering fundraiser, when you're talking to potential donors, you have to keep your mouth closed and do a lot of listening.
Mm-hmm.
You have to listen to what interests them, excites them, asking lots of questions. Even the greatest introvert, and shockingly, one of my boys is quite the introvert. Can't figure out how he came from my gene pool, But even he knows, ask questions.
Yeah.
Dig deeper. Why do you do this? How do you do this? How can I help you? And don't think about it so much as walking into a room full of people and being like, oh my God, all these people. Where do I start?
Well, and I
Just
think
pick one. Just pick one that looks interesting.
Introverts have superpowers they don't realize. And they are much better at building businesses, building networks, networking, because they're going to ask the questions. Where extroverts, at some point, they just want to talk about themselves. So your point of listening and paying attention is so important, because so many people just go, I want to throw some people under the bus, but I hate going to network things and people are just like handing you their brochures. Like you walk in, I've had two instances recently, and you literally walk in, hi, here.
Drives
And
me
I'm like,
crazy.
I don't even know who you are, and it's going in the trash, because I want to
Drives
know
me
who
crazy.
you are. I want to build relationships that know, like, and trust, which I think people don't get that. And
You are
especially
correct.
a chamber, people think that, all right, I join it and it's an instant like ATM card to people in business.
Nope. You got to build those relationships.
Yeah.
People got to know you. They got to like you. They got to trust you. And then they'll do business with you. And I do remind people all the time when they join this chamber, I'm like, it's not all sunshine, rainbows, unicorns, and cupcakes. You got to put some work in. You got to show up occasionally. You got to engage. You got to read some emails that come out. You got to ask questions. Yeah. You have to, you can't just sit back on the sidelines. You have to
I was reading a book
participate.
recently, two books. One is The Breakthrough Code, and they talked about building your network of empowerment. Those people that you reach up to and help and that can assist you, but first give to them and see how you can help. And then one of the examples was there was a trainer this guy was interested in connecting with, and in a conversation found out his son was struggling with algebra. So he offered to do some tutoring for the son. And so, like, give first, and then you have the power not to ask, but people are willing to help. I think I shared here not too long ago that somebody was asking for help and said, I need this, this, and this. And the person said, just add one phrase to that. Can you help me? And people are willing to help if you ask.
Yes.
And we're all busy, but if people ask, we're willing to help. We want to help other people assist if they're willing to do the work and ask.
Yep. No. I'm like you. I hate when I walk into an event, somebody immediately tries to sell me something. Typically they're younger and they just don't know any better. And I try to be like, whoa, let's slow your roll. Let's just slow down.
Yeah.
First of all, do you know what I do? Well, no, but you need this. Do I? Do you know that I need that?
Yeah.
The other thing that drives me crazy are that what's in it for me people. Have no patience for them.
Yeah. Or the other one is that they automatically see your name tag, what you do, and they automatically dismiss you or stop talking to you. And I've run into that with my other side of my world with Mary Kay, especially men. They're like, well, I don't need Mary Kay. And I'm like, you don't know all the other things I do and how well I'm connected. Because I am a Mary Kay person, and I've had 5 pink Cadillacs. And I remember one time the Cadillac dealer stopped delivering Cadillacs, one of them, and the other one did. And they were kind of had an attitude because, like, I'm not going to buy a Cadillac, but honestly, I probably say Cadillac more in a day than a Cadillac dealer does. And I'll talk them up. And because I had a pink Cadillac, or I've had pink Cadillacs, it takes a lot of people, a lot of sales to get that. So I know a lot of people, and good and bad. And people don't realize that too. They may not need you for this, but they never know who you know.
That's right. You got to put it out in the universe. One
Yeah.
of the things that I learned early on as a fundraiser is, one, you don't get it unless you ask. And you're going to get told no, but just figure out a different way to ask the same question.
Right.
But you got to put it out there in the universe.
Yeah. And be careful. Don't burn any bridges, because you never know who's going to cross your path again.
That's correct.
And that you might have been kind of a brat. And that's one of the things that drives me crazy is people don't respond back because they're like, oh, I don't need to, or their time is more valuable. I'm like, you don't know where this is going to come back to get you.
One of the groups that I haven't participated in a while, but I like when I attend their meetings, it's the 1 Million Cups group. I don't know how familiar you are with 1 Million Cups, but I love they're masterminding this one problem, this one question that a business owner has, and it could be on anything, logistics, production, marketing, anything. But the questions that people are asking and the advice they're giving, if you pay attention, you learn a lot about the other folks as well. Like, oh my gosh, that guy is asking a lot of logistics questions, but that is not what he does now.
Right.
What was his what does he know?
Yeah.
So, listening and paying attention, I mean, even us extroverts we do love to talk about ourselves and what we do, but we also like to listen and pay attention. And then, put the spotlight back on us, but
Mhm.
it's just important to listen and to ask those questions, and figure
Yeah.
out, and just ask, can I
Yeah,
help you
one
with
of the things
anything?
I've been paying attention to is what you just said. Like, what are people's big dreams, those things that keep them up at night, their passions, which they're not doing right now, but they have a passion for it. Just like you said, paying attention, listening to the person, the questions they're asking. And because, let's work on developing those, because these days you can start a business doing anything. And I think going to Million Cups is eye-opening of all the
Mhm.
people's businesses. So I've been participating in the Million Cups in Loudon,
Yeah.
which I have gotten great contacts and connections and just met some cool people. But I am going to be presenting Why Not Today business in October.
Ooh,
So you might
if I
need
can
to come
crash that, I
visit.
will. Make sure you let me know when that
Yeah.
is. One of the reasons why I don't get to participate with the Fairfax one often is they meet Wednesday mornings, and I have a commitment the first and third Wednesday of every month, and can't do it. But
Yeah, I think the Loudon is the second Wednesday.
okay.
I'll look at it and let you know. But yes, so asking questions and getting to know people, it's so key. And I think one of the things that really connected me to you quickly is, and I always talk about this at the end, but we're going to talk about it now, is my dad, that he started the Reston Chamber. And for a lot of the reasons you just talked about, he did not have local business. Although people think he designed Reston and built it, he didn't. He was city planner and he redeveloped other towns and things. But he was very involved in Reston, and he was um, raising 6 kids in Reston. And that's really why I started it. And I didn't realize it
Mm.
until I was older. He had a stroke actually in Newport News, and people came to the hospital there. Were like coming into ICU to find out how he was. There were a lot, one more woman in particular lied and said she was his daughter, which she wasn't, but to check on him. But I remember walking through a parking lot and somebody stopped me and they're like, "How's your dad?" And I'm like, "Who are you? And how do you know that's my dad?" Like was my thought. But when he passed away, it was standing in a room only in the funeral. And he touched so many lives, and he was a master at getting to know people and asking questions. I mean, he'd go to the doctor, and the doctor, the nurse, everybody in there, he would ask questions like, "Where are you from? What do you do?" And he was a master, and I think this is a skill, finding that mutual connection.
Hmm.
Once you find that mutual connection, like somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn the other day. She's like, "Oh, we're both coaches and we both went to Virginia Tech." Like automatically, I'm like, "Okay, I'll be your friend," because you were able to pull that connection. And so when you can find that mutual connection, that one person you both know, or you went to the same school, the same sorority, or you grew up, you know where they're from, it can connect you to somebody. And I think that's so important. And listening, my dad was a master at listening, or he was a master at asking questions too. Like drove me crazy as a kid, but my friends would come over, and I had two friends particularly said they had more conversation with my dad than they ever did their own father.
Oh,
Yeah, kind of
kind of
sad.
breaks my heart a little.
I know. So what advice would you give somebody that is starting a business, a little scared? Like, how do you get involved? How do you talk to people? Where do you go?
Well, obviously, you start with your local chamber of commerce.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Obviously.
and I
Well, and
mentioned
talking about that, and I think I've mentioned this to you during that word we're not going to use that happened in 2020. Um, I was at Smith Mountain Lake a lot, and I joined the chamber there. I'm like, if I'm going to be here, I might as well build my business. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter where you are, get connected.
there are chambers everywhere. And
Yeah,
I will say, if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber. We all have similar roles, but we all have our own little flavor and feel and strengths. In the DMV, there's at least 3 dozen chambers of commerce, a dozen for sure within the confines of Fairfax County.
right.
So, check them out, explore, ask questions. take advantage of those resources that the government provides for you. The Small Business Development Center has wonderful resources for businesses that are
And people
starting.
don't realize that, like in
Yep, they
starting a
help with
business, there are so many resources out there. You just need to
business
know who to
plans
ask.
and financing. And Fairfax County has launched a new website called Core that's very cool. Fairfaxcore.com,
I think
gov.
it's .gov or
Fairfax
org.
Core. Just find it.
Yeah.
It's there. Full of great, wonderful free resources. There are so many free resources out there. And while a chamber is not free, it is still a wealth of information for you. You can attend chamber events. You don't have to be a member. You can crash some events. You can start to get a sense for what that particular chamber might be like by going to an event or two. Put your big toe in the pool, so to speak. Talk to the staff of the chamber, ask them questions. I had somebody pop over today, and unfortunately I was running a webinar and I wasn't able to speak to him. He'd just been next door at the Small Business Development Center, and they said, you should talk to the chamber. And he walked over. I happen to be Economic Development Central here in the city of Fairfax.
Are you next door to them?
I am. There's out of the 4 buildings on this campus, 3 of them have economic development stuff in them. The chamber's in one, the Small Business Development Center is right next door, and diagonal from me is the Mason Enterprise Center and Fairfax City's economic development. So we are Economic Development Central. I was here first, although full disclosure, I knew they were coming. But it's nice. I can walk people next door who come to me asking for advice on starting a business. I mean, we have some resources on our website, but when I can walk them next door to the SBDC and say, hi, they need help setting an appointment, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I love that so many people are willing to help and get involved. And yeah, the chamber there's so much more than just growing your business. So I know my favorite thing. What is, if you were a member before you are running it, so what would say your number one thing you've received? Obviously you got a job and you made lots of connections, but what's the one thing, your favorite part of being a part of a chamber?
The community.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple, but entrepreneurs, y'all live a lonely world. It's lonely. Your significant other doesn't understand why you're awake at 3 a.m. And a chamber provides you with an instant community of people who get you. They get you're crazy. They've been where you have been. They may have some advice for you. They may be like, oh, I remember when I had that problem, or I remember when it took forever to hear back from the IRS on blah blah blah. Here's what I did. The community.
Yeah.
Hands down. It's the best
people.
Piece and part of chamber membership in any chamber, honestly. It's the community.
And I
Although
probably
I like
take
to
it one
think,
step further. It's a
yeah,
community, but the great friends I've made.
yes.
And they're like-minded, think the same. I've got a good friend of mine. I love her dearly, but she is in the public school system. And her brain and my brain were completely different. Like, on a holiday week, I'm bummed because my week goes by so fast. She's like, yay. She's done with work. I'm not. I'm actually out of town right now, and I have a friend visiting me, and she's a real estate agent. And I said, I have appointments when you're coming. And she goes, that's okay. I got work to do. I get what you do. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
So being around like-minded people and those amazing friends. And like, I remember not too long ago, I met a friend for lunch, and she worked a 9 to 5 kind of job, and she had an hour for lunch. I'm like, really? Like, most of my friends, we go to lunch, and anytime we want, happy hour, we can take the day off, the afternoon. We work our tail off in between, but it's those like-minded people.
Yeah, but hands down, it's the community.
Yeah. And you've done an amazing job. And I haven't joined yet, but one of the reasons I want to join is because your email list, which I heard is valuable. Why not today? I know, I need to do that. I love it. Thank you. Throwing it back at me. So we kind of jumped all around and talked about how you'd encourage other people. We talked about the connection with my dad and your courage story. Anything else you want to share before we say goodbye?
I think we've hit a lot of great topics, and I've even addressed a couple of myths about chambers. Oh, I can't come to an event. I'm not a member. You totally can. You don't have to be in the city of Fairfax or the central part of Fairfax to become a member or be involved. I have Gettysburg, PA the Gettysburg Foundation has joined the chamber.
Well, just like I was a member of Smith Mountain Lake. And actually going back to one thing I wanted to mention too with chamber is in my prior career, I worked for a broadcast consulting firm, and we used to literally put values on a radio or TV station. And in that process, I would call the chamber to find out what was going on in town. And
Mhm.
was there a Walmart? These are a lot of smaller towns. Like what kind of industries coming in? Because the chamber knows those things.
We do.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a
Good
question about a
resource.
development, if I don't know what's going on, it's rare, but I know who knows. So,
Exactly.
think of your chamber is a help desk. We pick up the phone, call us, ask us, email us. Okay, you can text me, but it's transactional. I read it and then I forget it. But I mean, chambers are wonderful resources. Don't get hung up on not joining because you can't attend the events. The
Right.
events are the smallest part of chamber membership. It
Yeah,
really
get to
is.
know people.
There's so much more to it that you just don't think about. The access to information, the connections to resources, connecting you to other referral partners. I met with a potential member today, has a moving company. And he wanted to come in to talk, and I'm like, okay, let's talk. What are you looking for? There are referral partners out there. There's senior living facilities I can connect you with. There are real estate folks I can connect you with, home improvement places. And I'm thinking all these outside the box kind of things. And they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about connecting with home improvement. I'm like, well, yeah, because people like to fix their houses up before they sell them and move away. Oh, I never thought about that. I'm like, well, that's only because I've done it 3 times and I'm never in my house to enjoy the improvements before I move
Right.
away. But so he was
Yeah.
like, wow, I never thought about that. So
It's thinking it different ways. I actually was working with somebody who's a massage therapist. She's new in the field. And we were talking about places she could meet people. And she was talking about doing massages she's into a lot of sporting things. And I was talking to her about golf tournaments. I said, golf tournament would be a good place to go, not for the golfers, but have you ever volunteered for a golf tournament?
oh yes.
And who is volunteering and how much downtime do you have?
Yeah.
It's women for the
Women.
most part. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot, like you get the golfers out on the course and then you for lunch and then whatever event in the evening, but there's downtime. So I hooked her up with a charity golf tournament yesterday and she went out and did seated massages for the volunteers. Like it was a great win-win for both of them.
Nice.
But yes, thinking outside the
Brilliant.
box and yeah, connecting people and who are you connected to?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. What a
So I'm
wonderful
excited.
podcast you do, Leslie.
What?
This is very cool. Your podcast, it's awesome.
Thank you. I
Such
was
great
talking
conversations to have.
I was talking to somebody the other day and then listened to some, and she's like, "You're getting better." I'm like, "Well, that's good. Was I that bad in the beginning?" Now, my sister said that a long time ago, but hopefully, I'm getting better and asking good questions. And it's fun for me, and it's value for me, if nothing else, too, that I am meeting all these cool people and have access to really interesting people and interesting conversations, and hopefully giving people courage. And I really hope that people listen to these, watch these, and they have courage to do the things they're afraid of. And that doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to start. If you're thinking of a business, maybe connect with the chamber, maybe go to economic development, talk to somebody, talk to more people. I had a mentor he said his philosophy was TTP and then TTMP. Talk to people and then talk to more people.
I love it.
Yeah. So well, you're going to be our luncheon guest in November. So if those in the Northern Virginia area want to come hang out with Miss Jennifer Rose, I am going to join the chamber soon. I promise.
All right. Again,
Why not
look,
today?
it's right here.
Why not
Why not today? But you know what? Tomorrow works too, Leslie. Or the
All right.
next day.
I know where to find you. So, well, thank you for being a guest and for all
Thank
your
you.
wisdom. And hopefully we've given people some tools and resources to help them um, to grow businesses or just have the courage to get out there, network and say hello or make new friends and new connections. Build that community because you just never know.
Well, I hope so.
So, well, thank you for being my guest and thank you everybody for joining us on this inspiring journey. Remember, every day is an opportunity to take action, chase your dreams and make a difference. So why not today? And of course, you can find out everything about the Why Not Today podcasts under whynottodaypodcast.com, including the coaching I do on courage and also the Why Not Today Connects luncheon. And, we're here to help you grow and build a life that you love. And so why not today? So thanks again, Jennifer, for being my guest.
Thank you so much.
All right. And why not today?